Hey there, this is Jason Eagle, your natural health expert for strategic healing. And this is really the second video, part 2 of Psoas, but Psoas above, Psoas below, above the belt, below the belt. The other partner of really getting control of what the Psoas does is the pelvic floor. So remember I talked about in the first video, we're going to talk about some of the stretches and things that we can do for Psoas, how to get it stretched and how to go from this elongated bowing out position to getting it so it's not so tight and so it's stretched. Okay, take a look at some of these different exercises and stretches.
So how do we go from that slouching body on the right to the nice straight upward body on the left? So we'll start off with the stretches that are easiest to the hardest. So we go into this one, which is just getting down on the floor and just stretching your back up, opening up the belly. And that's an easy one to do. Then we go into the next one, which is a side bend. A nice side bend will help to open up the one on the opposite side, as well as stretching the leg part, so as the one that you're bending down to. So we're stretching this one by loosening up as it rotates in the ball and socket, and this one is stretched nice and long. And obviously you bend on both sides. Then next we go to another side bend, but now we get into a back bend. Now this one's going to be a little bit harder. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult. So as you advance, you start to advance into the more difficult poses. Now this one's a little bit fairly easy too, so I would kind of back this one up. So if you're having trouble, you can put, instead of putting your hand on your knee, you can put your hand on, say, a chair, and then pull the back one, and you'll have good stability there. Then eventually getting up so where you can put and have the stability with your hand on your opposite knee. Now the next one that we go to is a little bit, you're getting down onto the floor and you're doing a lunge while pulling that back leg to stretch the quads. So part of getting into the psoas is also involving really stretching those meaty quads. Okay, which is, I like this one pretty much the best, is getting onto a bed and, say, having a stretchy band that you put on and you carry over the other shoulder. And what you would do is you would stretch it on over both shoulders, on the same shoulder, on the same side of the leg that you're stretching, and then flip it over the head and go over the other shoulder. And what you do is you get different angles of the stretch of the quad into the quad and into the psoas. And this is a really great one. We're doing a back bend. We're opening up and stretching the quad. So after we stretch the quad quite a bit, then we can start getting into also opening up the psoas and including that. Obviously, we're doing it on both sides. This is another one that really opens it up. We get into, let's say, a yoga block or even a foam roller. And so laying on and now opening the bowl of the pelvis of both sides. And then now we get into, after we've stretched, now how can we do some strengthening of that? And this would be doing some leg lifts, not necessarily crunches, but leg lifts. Some people bounce their legs a little bit. If you want to get a little really advanced on that, is you have a person push your leg from side to side, and that will help to hold the stability of the psoas and the abdominal muscles. Once you've stretched it, and now you're getting it to be nice and strong in that new place.
Okay, so now that we've learned how to stretch the psoas, let's take a look inside the body and see what the pelvic floor is and what its relationship, because it's the partner. If you're really going to get this going and get yourself out of the bowl, you're going to have to understand what the pelvic floor is. So take a look at this as some anatomy of that.
Okay, so here we are looking straight ahead at the pelvis. And you can see that this is the front. We look up underneath, and that's the hole of the pelvis that comes out. These three holes that you see would be, the bottom one would be the anus, the middle hole this is a woman, this would be the vaginal opening, and then the top one would be the urethra. So looking down inside the bowl, see for the side, it looks like an actual bowl with a hole in the bottom. And that is like what the pelvic floor is, and it is like a floor. But when we look at it from underneath, it's very much like a trampoline. If you imagine a trampoline with the metal ring on the outside, that's those bones on the outside, and then the mesh of the trampoline is the pelvic floor muscles. Now they have holes that stuff has to come out, but what it does is when those are flexed and tight and are the form and the structure that they're supposed to be, what it does is it bounces your organs back up inside the bowl of your pelvis, back up inside your body, as opposed to having them fall out the bottom of your body.
Okay, so you saw that the pelvic floor is these muscles that kind of hold everything up. Now, one of the problems that we have with bad posture, with a bad bladder, bad prostate, bad kidneys, and these other things is not only does this poor psoas, we get into this bad posture, the rolling forward, but it's also a crunching down of the whole cage starts to crunch down, and it crunches the organs in there. It crunches the kidneys and traps them inside this cage, as well as the internal organs, and everything kind of gets squeezed in there. And then the other thing is that the guts start to fall out, and then we also get things like prolapses. So you get a prolapse uterus, you go to prolapse rectum. That's what hemorrhoids are, is literally its stuff is falling through. And so I did a model of this with a bucket, and to show mechanically what the pelvic floor does and what the psoas does in relationship. So take a look.
Pelvis of the pelvic floor. So this is psoas coming down here, and this is a bucket that like your pelvis, is like a bowl of the pelvis, but with the front cut out and a hole in the bottom, like a pot. And then I have attached screws here that are duct taped to chopsticks. And then this stretchy band comes and attaches into that. So this is what's holding this together, right? And it mimics how the psoas is attached to the spine. So, but it's not loaded. So, but what we do, and you see that it can go up and down, all right, but it can tip. Right, and this is what's holding it this way is the psoas, because when you add, these are grapes, okay? You add weight to it, okay? Then it needs to balance, but you see that it's the psoas that really holds this in, okay? But if you also see, if this starts to spill forward by the weight of it and it starts to hang, it stretches the psoas. And see how the guts are spilling out? And if you could see down, actually in the pelvic floor, the other thing that's holding it, you see the grapes start to fall through, fall out the hole and fall out the front, and that's what tips this thing. So the psoas is one part of bringing it back in, but you see the other part is getting this bag up. The bag up is what holds it up and gets it into a better position by also controlling not just the psoas that controls it, but also the bag.
Over time, the kidney going to be lower. When the people weak and sick, the kidney going to lower. The stomach lower, the kidney low, everything drop down. Why? Got no energy uplifted.
Holds it so that it keeps it stable as it's spilling forward, back and forth, and falling through. But there's another force, and there's also this force of the trampoline of the hole. The grapes fall through, everything falls in, but this has power to push up, This has power to push up and push the stuff and pull it, stuff it back in. Stuff the back in, stuff your stuff back in.
Okay, so you see that it's not just the psoas going and being weak, it's also this internal organs are falling down, and part of it is because we don't have this strength. We don't have the strength of being able to pull it up. So if you kind of look like inside, what's happening is not only are you crunching forward, but it's as if there was a loose string that's at the top. It's going down like this, and so everything starts to compress. So if we could learn how to have this energy to actually pull the string up, you get more room in your rib cage, you get more room in here, and you will pull. And so I'm going to show some links to this video, which is called Iron Shirt QiGong, which is about learning how to use this energy to actually spiral this energy up through doing things like Kegel exercises like that. But that's just one little hint of what a Kegel exercise is. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that comes, and you think about it this way, like when you're squeezing a tube of toothpaste, to get the toothpaste to come out of the tube, you squeeze from the bottom and open it up here. But then you can also squeeze and go this way back and forth.
Now, if we know it, we can do a lot of things, incredible things. How you incredible? You're going to learn a way to squeeze the kidney. You learn a way to spiral the energy in the kidney. You learn a way to energize the kidney. Why important the kidney? The kidney is one of the things going to give you back your good health. Filter the blood, filter the toxic out of it.
When you get really good at this, this is about pumping your energy up and getting up out of the cage and getting so that the whole thing kind of comes up. And when you do this right, this is practices that people say, I swear I saw the guy levitating, or the guy was able to make energy come out of his hand.
Through them, he directs a form of electricity, as he calls it. But he doesn't draw the electricity from a wall socket. He claims to generate it within his own body. It was nothing like any acupuncture I'd ever had. I was getting really powerful electric shocks and couldn't control my movements at all. He says that what he does is no more supernatural than an electric eel, which also knows how to harness its yin and yang energies.
Yin yang, positive and negative, you know. And my positive from here and my negative from here. And we meet together, this can get like electricity. Biasanya.
Then he asked for our newspaper.
Think about an electric eel is no different than you and I are. It's got a spinal cord and it's flesh and blood, but through its spinal cord, it is able to make some connections where it's able to send volts out enough to knock a human down like it's been tased. They're not any different than we are. So how much more could we use to get control of our body? So the secret is in not on just the psoas, but also in this pelvic floor. So start doing these exercises and start being able to get yourself out of the cage and be able to get this energy to get up and kind of crawl up and get out and then become free. All right. So the other part of the psoas is the pelvic floor. And if you're able to address both of these stretches and exercises in practice, there's no telling what you'll be able to do. So until next time, bye-bye.